Fielding was in some ways the perfect film composer of his time, in that he was both classically trained and well-versed in jazz. So if you, for example, his most famous piece is probably the March from Hogan's Heroes that he wrote for the television series in the mid-1960s. He's able to handle both the jazz side of things and the symphonic side of things, which makes him not just versatile, I think, but certainly made him in demand in his time, particularly the early to mid-1970s.
I'm going to tell you something I never told a customer before. Personally, I never made a bet in my life. You know why? Because I've observed firsthand what we're seeing the different kinds of people that are addicted to gambling. What we would call degenerates. I've noticed there's one thing that makes all of them the same. You know what that is?
Yes. They're all looking to lose.
So he flies to London to meet with Karel Reisz in mid-1974. And he finds, as he said in an interview later in the 1970s, that Reisz has already temp-tracked The Gambler with Mahler's First Symphony from start to finish. Fielding's reaction was, "This is all wrong. I don't know what you're thinking, because Mahler's First Symphony deals a good deal more with nature." He thought it was disastrous, and he felt that, in fact, what Mahler was intending was, as he said, the ultimate pastoral, depicting the sunrise of the world, the sweet and peaceful unoccupied earth, which was far from the experience of Axel Freed that we're about to plunge into. I think what Fielding didn't know is that this was James Toback's idea. Because if you go back and look at Toback's original script, he not only mentions Mahler twice, and Mahler being Axel Freed's favorite composer, but the fact is, a good deal of The Gambler is essentially James Toback's own life. This is based on his experience as a New York professor who was deeply immersed in the gambling world and his own addiction. And I think that Karel Reisz simply adopted it and thought it was an interesting, dramatic approach musically.
What are you up at, 6?
Send it all in.
Hey, Axel, come on. We got limits.
What, are you trying to snap my rhythm?
2-dime maximum, you know that.
I just played 3.
Well, you wasn't supposed to play no 3.
Come on.
2,000, no more. It's for your own protection.
Hey, fuck my protection.
Fielding agreed to take it on. And as he said, he tried to do the best he could, and he referred to it as a big excavation project. So he delved deeply into Mahler's First Symphony, and even discovered an unused movement from the Mahler Symphony, which he also utilized. The fact is that virtually every moment of the Gambler score is either based on or rooted in Mahler's First Symphony. There is not a lot of historical precedence for taking a classical piece of music and adapting it into a film score. Classical music had often been used, certainly back in the silent era, but once the talkies started, original music became the order of the day. Almost the entire history of film music, from the 30s right through the 70s, is that of original music being written specifically for the drama. There are occasional instances, like David Lean's Brief Encounter in 1945, Elvira Madigan, the very popular art house hit from 1967, which used Mozart, and then, of course, the classic example of Stanley Kubrick's 2001. But most of these are needle drop situations, whereby the composer takes pre-existing recorded classical music and drops it into the movie. This is different. This is taking an existing piece of work, an existing symphonic work, and actually tearing it apart, utilizing bits and pieces of it, but specifically molding it to the scenes in question. So this is fairly unprecedented in terms of film scoring.
You know, I once tried to commit suicide over a girl named Billy. Did you know that? I was 9. She was 36. I had to have her. She wouldn't have me.
The Gambler is, in essence, a psychological drama. You know, you're watching the downward spiral of this otherwise smart, accomplished New York literature professor who has this character flaw that is driving him down into a very, very dark place. Jerry Fielding, as a composer, loved this challenge. He was all about using music to tap into the character's psychological profile. This is, I think, a thoughtful, advanced use of music for film, in the sense that very often, certainly prior to the 1970s, you would often get music that would either repeat what you're already getting visually, but Fielding was fascinated by the psychological potential of music in film to create another layer, to possibly plumb those depths that you're not quite getting visually.
I want another 1,000 hips.
You're gonna beat us for 44,000 out of 1,000? Hey, Axel, we shouldn't laugh. This is serious. You're the last person I want anything bad to happen to. You know that.
One of the things that Fielding did when he was delving into the Mahler to try to figure out what from that symphony would work dramatically, one of the things that he discovered was the extra movement that Mahler had written, but not long after the premiere of the symphony discarded. It's a piece called Blumina. And it's very interesting that when you look at the paperwork associated with the scoring of the film, that he actually uses Blumina as the opening music of the movie because it is emotionally non-committal. It is a kind of neutral music that doesn't hint at where we're going with this character and this story. The next piece, which is called The Morning After, is actually from the opening of the first Mahler symphony. And that incorporates the fanfares, the oboe figure from the first movement. This is when Axel's driving home from that night of losing. And there's a melancholy feel to it, but it's complicated, just as the symphony is, and as we will find out, so is Axel.
Come on, move it, will you?
Fielding went above and beyond here in the sense that at different parts of the score, he uses elements from all four of the traditional movements that Mahler wrote in that symphony. And he did so to such an extent that Reisz didn't use them all. There's probably 1/4 to 1/3 of everything that Fielding wrote and recorded is actually not in the movie. So at the end of the recording process, clearly Reisz took what he thought worked and applied that to the film, and then just left the rest on, as they say, the cutting room floor.